Hi there! Let's study tissues today, grade 9 science chapter 6. In the last chapter, we studied that all living organisms are made of cells. We also studied that in unicellular organisms, a single cell performs all basic functions. For example, in amoeba, a single cell carries out movement, intake of food, gaseous exchange, and excretion. But in multicellular organisms, there are millions of cells. Most of these cells are specialized to carry out specific functions. Each specialized function is taken up by a different group of cells. Since these cells carry out only a particular function, they do it very efficiently. In human beings, muscle cells contract and relax to cause movement. Nerve cells carry messages. Blood flows to transport oxygen, food, hormones, and waste material, and so on. In plants, vascular tissues conduct food and water from one part of the plant to other parts. So, multicellular organisms show division of labor. Cells specializing in one function are often grouped together in the body. This means that a particular function is carried out by a cluster of cells at a definite place in the body. This cluster of cells, called a tissue, is arranged and designed so as to give the highest possible efficiency of function. Blood, phloem, and muscle are all examples of tissues. Thus, a group of cells that are similar in structure and or work together to achieve a particular function forms a tissue. Are plants and animals made of same types of tissues? Do plants and animals have the same structure? Plants are stationary or fixed. They don't move. Since they have to be upright, they have a large quantity of supportive tissue. The supportive tissue generally has dead cells. Animals, on the other hand, move around in search of food, mates, and shelter. They consume more energy as compared to plants. Most of the tissues they contain are living. Another difference between animals and plants is in the pattern of growth. The growth in plants is limited to certain regions, while this is not so in animals. There are some tissues in plants that divide throughout their life. Those tissues are localized in certain regions. Based on the dividing capacity of the tissues, various plant tissues can be classified as growing or meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Cell growth in animals is more uniform. So, there is no such demarcation of dividing and non-dividing regions in animals. The structural organization of organs and organ systems is far more specialized and localized in complex animals than even in very complex plants. This fundamental difference reflects the different modes of life pursued by these two major groups of organisms, particularly in their different feeding methods. Also, they are differently adapted for a sedentary existence on one hand and active locomotion on the other, contributing to this difference in organ system design. It is with reference to these complex animal and plant bodies that we will now talk about the concept of tissues in some more detail. Let's do a quick recap first. What is a tissue? Well, tissue is a group of cells that have similar structure and that function together as a unit. What is the utility of tissues in multicellular organisms? The use of tissues in multicellular organisms is to provide structural and mechanical strength, as well as to allow division of labor. Before we move ahead, may I ask you to subscribe to the channel, press the notification bell, and click on the like too. Thank you. Let's move ahead. Let's first study plant tissues. Meristematic tissue. To understand this, let's perform an activity first. Take 2 glass jars and fill them with water. Now take 2 onion bulbs and place one on each jar as shown here. Observe the growth of roots in both the bulbs for a few days. Measure the length of roots on day 1, 2, and 3. On day 4, cut the root tips of onion bulb in jar 2 by about 1 centimeter. After this, observe the growth of roots in both the jars and measure their lengths each day for 5 more days. And record the observation in table. Now, from the observations, we would see that the first onion has longer roots. This was because the meristematic tissues present on the root tips of onion kept in the second onion were cut out. Now the next question is, do the roots continue growing even after we have removed their tips? The answer is no, they cannot continue growing. This is because the apical meristematic tissues essential for their growth is present on the tips. If the tips are removed, the roots can't grow. Thus, we now know that the growth of plants occurs only in certain specific regions. This is because the dividing tissue, also known as meristematic tissue, is located only at these points. Depending on the region where they are present, meristematic tissues are classified as apical, lateral, and intercalary. New cells produced by meristem are initially like those of meristem itself, but as they grow and mature, their characteristics slowly change and they become differentiated as components of other tissues. Apical meristem is present at the growing tips of stems and roots, and it increases the length of the stem and the root. The girth of the stem or root increases due to lateral meristem, also known as cambium. Intercalary meristem seen in some plants is located near the node. Cells of meristematic tissue are very active. They have dense cytoplasm, thin cellulose walls, and prominent nuclei. They lack vacuoles. Can we think why they would lack vacuoles? The purpose of a vacuole is to store food and waste product. Since meristems are young cells and are actively dividing, they do not participate actively in food preparation. Also, they do not produce a large amount of waste. Hence, they don't need vacuoles. Permanent tissue. What happens to the cells formed by meristematic tissue? They take up a specific role and lose the ability to divide. As a result, they form a permanent tissue. This process of taking up a permanent shape, size, and function is called differentiation. Differentiation leads to the development of various types of permanent tissues. If you're liking the video, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel. Let's perform another activity. Take a plant stem and cut it into very thin slices or sections. Now stain the slices with saffron. Place one neatly cut section on a slide and put a drop of glycerin. Cover with a cover slip and observe under a microscope. The various types of cells and their arrangement can be seen. You would note that all cells are not similar in structure and function. Cell structure is based on the function of cell. Also, experts estimate that there are around 200 cell types in the human body. Cell types can look different and carry out distinct roles within the body. These cells are adapted according to that type of function they have to perform. This is why there are so many types of cells. Let's see the simple permanent tissue. A few layers of cells beneath the epidermis are generally simple permanent tissue. Parenchyma is the most common simple permanent tissue. It consists of relatively unspecialized cells with thin cell walls. They are living cells. They are usually loosely arranged, thus large intercellular spaces are found in this tissue. This tissue generally stores food. In some situations, it contains chlorophyll and performs photosynthesis, and then it is called chlorenchyma. In aquatic plants, large air cavities are present in parenchyma to help them float. Such a parenchyma type is called erenchyma. The flexibility in plants is due to another permanent tissue, collenchyma. It allows bending of various parts of a plant like tendrils and stems of climbers without breaking. It also provides mechanical support. We can find this tissue in leaf stalks below the epidermis. The cells of this tissue are living, elongated and irregularly thickened at the corners. There is very little intercellular space. Yet another type of permanent tissue is sclerenchyma. It is the tissue which makes the plant hard and stiff. We have seen the husk of coconut. It is made of sclerenchymatous tissue. The cells of this tissue are dead. They are long and narrow as the walls are thickened due to lignin. Often these walls are so thick that there is no internal space inside the cell. This tissue is present in stems, around vascular bundles, in the veins of leaves, and in the hard covering of seeds and nuts. It provides strength to the plant parts. Activity time again. Take a freshly plucked leaf of Rio. Stretch and break it by applying pressure. While breaking it, keep it stretched gently so that some peel or skin projects out from the cut. Remove this peel and put it in a petri dish filled with water. Add a few drops of saffron. Wait for a couple of minutes and then transfer it onto a slide. Gently place a cover slip over it. Observe under microscope. What you observe is the outermost layer of cells called epidermis. The epidermis is usually made of a single layer of cells. In some plants living in very dry habitats, if you're liking the video, don't forget to subscribe. So in some plants living in very dry habitats, the epidermis may be thicker since protection against water loss is critical. The entire surface of a plant has an outer covering epidermis. It protects all the parts of the plant. Epidermal cells on the aerial parts of the plant often secrete a waxy, water-resistant layer on the outer surface. This aids in protection against loss of water, mechanical injury, and invasion by parasitic fungi. Since it has a protective role to play, cells of epidermal tissue forms a continuous layer without any intercellular spaces. Most epidermal cells are relatively flat. Often their outer and side walls are thicker than the inner wall. We can observe small pores here and there in the epidermis of the leaf. These pores are called stomata. Transpiration, that is loss of water in the form of water vapor, also takes place through stomata. Stomata are enclosed by two kidney-shaped cells called guard cells. They are necessary for exchanging gases with the atmosphere. Epidermal cells of the roots, whose function is water absorption, commonly bear long, hair-like parts that greatly increase the total absorptive surface area. In some plants, like desert plants, epidermis has a thick, waxy coating of cutin on its outer surface. This restricts the loss of water through transpiration. Is the outer layer of a branch of a tree different from the outer layer of a young stem? As plants grow older, the outer protective tissue undergoes certain changes. A strip of secondary meristem located in the cortex forms layers of cells which constitute the cork. Cells of cork are dead and compactly arranged without intercellular spaces. They also have a substance called suberin in their walls that makes them impervious to gases and water. Before moving on to the next topic, let's recall. Which gas is required for photosynthesis? Well, the main gas which is required for photosynthesis is carbon dioxide and also the oxygen. The next question is, what is the role of transpiration in plants? Transpiration is the loss of water by plants through leaves during daytime. It is necessary for plants because it makes them cool. Let's see the complex permanent tissue. The different types of tissues we have discussed until now are all made of one type of cells, which look like each other. Such tissues are called simple permanent tissue. Yet another type of permanent tissue is complex tissue. Complex tissues are made of more than one type of cells. All these cells coordinate to perform a common function. Examples of complex tissues are xylem and phloem. They are both conducting tissues and constitute a vascular bundle. Vascular tissue is a distinctive feature. I hope you're liking the video. Vascular tissue is a distinctive feature of the complex plants, one that has made possible their survival in the terrestrial environment. This is a section of stem. Different types of cells can be seen in the vascular bundle. Xylem consists of tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibres. Tracheids and vessels have thick walls, and many are dead cells when mature. Tracheids and vessels are tubular structures. This allows them to transport water and minerals vertically. The parenchyma stores food. Xylem fibers are mainly supportive in function. Phloem is made up of 5 types of cells: sieve cells, sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers, and the phloem parenchyma. Sieve tubes are tubular cells with perforated walls. Phloem transports food from leaves to other parts of the plant. Except phloem fibers, other phloem cells are living cells. Let's do a quick recap. Name types of simple tissues. Parenchyma, Parenchyma, and Sclerenchyma are the three types of simple permanent tissues. Where is apical meristem found? Apical meristem is found at the tip of root or shoot of the plant. Which tissue makes up the husk of coconut? The coconut husk is composed of sclerenchyma tissue. What are the constituents of phloem? Phloem tissue consists of conducting cells generally called sieve elements. Parenchyma cells, including both specialized companion cells or albuminous cells, and unspecialized cells and supported cells such as fibers and sclerates. If you're liking the video, do hit the like button. Connective tissue. Blood is a type of connective tissue. Do you remember why is it called connective tissue? As the blood is circulated throughout the body due to pumping action of the heart, it carries different materials and gases from one part of the body to another. Hence, it connects different tissues and organs of the body and thus called as a connective tissue. The cells of connective tissue are loosely spaced and embedded in an intercellular matrix. The nature of matrix differs in concordance with the function of the particular connective tissue. It may be jelly-like, fluid, dense, or rigid. Blood has a fluid matrix called plasma, in which red blood corpuscles or RBCs, white blood corpuscles or WBCs, and platelets are suspended. This is how different types of blood cells look like. The plasma contains proteins, salts, and hormones. Blood flows and transports gases, digested food, hormones, and waste materials to different parts of the body. Bone is another example of a connective tissue. Bone forms the framework that supports the body. It also anchors the muscles and supports the main organs of the body. It is a strong and non-flexible tissue, thus providing strength and rigidity to the body. Bone cells are embedded in a hard matrix that is composed of calcium and phosphorus compounds. Here is how a compact bone tissue looks like. Two bones can be connected to each other by another type of connective tissue called the ligament. This tissue is very elastic. It has a considerable strength. Ligaments contain very little matrix and connect bones with bones. Tendons connect muscles to bones and are another type of connective tissue. Tendons are fibrous tissue with great strength but limited flexibility. Another type of connective tissue, cartilage, has widely spaced cells. The solid matrix is composed of proteins and sugars. Here's how does a hyaline cartilage tissue looks like. Cartilage smoothens bone surfaces at joints and is also present in the nose, ear, trachea, and larynx. Areolar connective tissue is found between the skin and muscles, and also around blood vessels and nerves, and in the bone marrow. It fills the space inside the organs, supports internal organs, and helps in repair of tissues. Let's see what are the parts of an areolar tissue. This is how it looks like. The various parts are reticular fiber, fibroblast, macrophage, collagen fiber, mast cell, and plasma cell. Fat-storing adipose tissue is found below the skin and between the internal organs. The cells of this tissue are filled with fat globules. Storage of fats also lets it act as an insulator. Let's see how does an adipocyte look like. Here it is. The parts are fat droplets and nucleus. If you're liking the video, don't forget to subscribe, share. Muscular tissue. Muscular tissue is responsible for movement in our body. This tissue consists of elongated cells, also called muscle fibers. Muscles contain special proteins called contractile proteins, which contract and relax to cause movement. We can move some muscles by conscious will. Muscles present in our limbs move when we want them to and stop when we so decide. Such muscles are called voluntary muscles. These muscles are also called skeletal muscles as they are mostly attached to bones and help in body movement. Under the microscope, these muscles show alternate light and dark bands or striations when stained appropriately. As a result, they are also called striated muscles. The cells of this tissue are long, cylindrical, unbranched, and multinucleate, which means they have many nuclei. The movement of food in the alimentary canal or the contraction and relaxation of blood vessels are involuntary movements. We cannot really start them or stop them simply by wanting to do so. Such movements are controlled by smooth muscles or involuntary muscles. They are also found in the iris of the eye, in ureters, and in the bronchi of the lungs. The cells are long with pointed ends and uninucleate. They are also called unstriated muscles because these muscles show no cross striations and look smooth. The muscles of heart show rhythmic contraction and relaxation throughout life. These involuntary muscles are called cardiac muscles. Heart muscles cells are cylindrical, branched, and uninucleate. Here is a comparison of the structures of different types of muscular tissues. Nervous tissue. All cells possess the ability to respond to stimuli. However, cells of the nervous tissue are highly specialized for being stimulated and then transmitting the stimulus very rapidly from one place to another within the body. The brain, spinal cord, and nerves are all composed of the nervous tissues. The cells of this tissue are called nerve cells or neurons. A neuron consists of a cell body with a nucleus and cytoplasm, from which long, thin, hair-like parts arise. Usually each neuron has a single long part called the axon and many short branched parts called dendrites. An individual nerve cell may be up to a meter long. Many nerve fibers bound together by connective tissue make up a nerve. The signal that passes along the nerve fiber is called a nerve impulse. Nerve impulses allow us to move our muscles when we want to. The functional combination of nerve and muscle tissue is fundamental to most animals. This combination enables animals to move rapidly in response to stimuli. Well done, you just completed the chapter. Keep watching us, bless us with your likes and comments, and stay kind, make healthier choices in life, and keep learning, keep growing. We love you all. Best wishes to each and every one of you. Ciao. Have a lovely day.